We want to take it to our top coaching hires of 2018 so far, in 2017, I should say. All right, let's start, though, with number 20, Chad Lunsford. At 19 is Dana Dimmel, Sean Lewis at 18, 17, Matt Luke, and at number 16, Steve Campbell.
Did we make these names up?
No, these are all real people. Good question, fair question. The one that kind of jumps out to me is Dana Dimmel. Like, I really thought UTEP would be the group of five school that they all do and go, oh, we're going to go hire, you know, an up-and-coming coordinator. Instead, they went with the 55-year-old Dimmel, who we saw be a head coach at Houston and Wyoming, and like whatever. I thought that was kind of an underwhelming hire. Like, I know it's UTEP, but go get a young guy. Like, shoot for someone who was on the track upward instead of a long-time offensive coordinator.
Talk about the hires that were made in the state of Florida in those group of five schools with Scott Frost and Lane Kiffin and Charlie Strong in the last 2 seasons. And I don't know why that's not a blueprint for some of these schools making these hires. Go after the big name who failed or the up-and-comer who coached under a legend, like you got Scott Frost coaching under Chip Kelly you know, before Kelly went out of the NFL. And so I think that's the blueprint. I don't see that in any of these guys here, that's for sure.
All right, moving on, you guys, to some more top coaching hires. At number 15, we've got Josh Heupel to UCF. Bill Napier to Louisiana Lafayette. Oregon State gets Jonathan Smith. SMU gets Sonny Dykes, and the Rice Owls get Mike Bloomgren, and Tennessee gets Jeremy Pruitt.
And we'll stick with I think 15 through 11 here. And James, the Heupel one still seems kind of strange to me. I do like the Billy Napier hire. He has some experience under Nick Saban. I like that. He was the guy that Arizona State originally hired. They hired him because they wanted to keep him in the fold. They wanted to keep him as the OC, and then he up and leaves, and that was just very weird.
Yeah, definitely weird. Mike Bloomgren was one that is interesting to say the least. You know,
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, he coached. He's basically kind of David Shaw's right-hand man for the past 7 years. You know, got there when Shaw got the job at Stanford in 2011. He's basically been to Shaw what Shaw was to Jim Harbaugh, his offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, the kind of guy who relies on that program. So I'm interested to see if Bloomgren can take what he learned from Shaw, do a kind of quick 2-year turnaround at Rice, and then get a big job in a Power 5 school, you know, 2 seasons from now, like a lot of coaches have done that have been successful in college football.
All right, let's get into our top 10. You guys kind of jumped the gun on that one, but at number 10, we've got Tennessee. They get Jeremy Pruitt, Tom.
It's Doc because that coaching search was a gigantic failure. Like, that could not have gone any worse. Like, oh, we've hired this guy.
Dumpster fire.
Oh, just kidding. The fans hate it, so we're not going to do it. Okay, we're going to go try and get this guy and this guy. Then we're going to get shut down by a bunch of group of five schools. Okay, we're going to settle on an SEC coordinator.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a mess. We're going to fire our AD in the process.
Tom, we talked about this earlier on another subject, but is this an example of we're not just a copycat, we're a copycat conference. It's like, oh, their defensive coordinator at Alabama, he worked at Georgia. Let's just get him. Are we just going to see this 2 years from now, the next guy? Then 2 years after that, the next guy. Is Saban's D coordinators because of the success Kirby Smart had? It's just the de facto new hot coach that every school is going to go after. I don't think Jeremy Pruitt necessarily improved Alabama's defense, changed anything. So I'm not sure if it's just like, hey, no matter who has the job, they're going to be a great defense because you've got Nick Saban, laying out the blueprint.
Pruitt has been a Power 5 DC for quite a while, and he, before this, had really never been connected to other head coaching jobs, which I find kind of strange because you would think, oh, DC, major school, they'll be interested, and there really wasn't a ton of interest around Pruitt.
Yeah, funny enough, he kind of flipped spots with Kirby Smart. He was the D coordinator at Georgia under Mark Richt. When Kirby Smart took over, didn't retain him, but his old boss did, right? And so, and Kirby Smart took another Alabama staffer over there with him to Georgia. So a lot of like just flip-flopping in these SEC schools. But I don't know. I think 10 is high, is where he should be. I don't think he should be any higher because, Tom, he's like their 10th choice.
Yeah, like let's not pretend that Tennessee missed on a bunch of guys. Like, I know Tennessee fans will hype themselves about it, but honestly, I would have preferred Greg Schiano. I think he's a better coach.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Jeremy Pruitt coming in at number 10 on our top coaching hires. Guys, let's take it now to number 9. Arkansas getting Chad Morris. James, what's your take on this one?
Well, I kind of was underwhelmed at what he did. I mean, he had a great reputation at Clemson, did a lot of good things with their offense, was a hot name when he took that SMU job, but he didn't turn him around. He certainly wasn't Lane Kiffin going from, whatever their record was to 10-3 and 8 or 9 straight wins, or Scott Frost 0-12 to 13-0 in a 2-year time period. So I thought he was a little bit underwhelming. In the school he was at SMU, you have, unlimited recruiting resources in the state of Texas. You've got Dallas, you've got San Antonio, you've got Houston, etc. So I thought it was a little underwhelming of the job he did at SMU, but I do think he's made a couple pretty good hires at Arkansas. They got the defensive coordinator, was it John Chavis from Texas A&M, who's very highly respected, to come over with him at Arkansas. So I think he's put together a pretty good staff so far, and we'll see how that works out. But this one makes sense to me. Neither one of those guys, I think, is home run hire PRUITT or Morris here.
It's not, but I also don't think it's always fair to expect, oh, they're just going to have a Lane Kiffin, Scott Frost. Like SMU had won one game the year Morris took over, and they won 2, 5, and 7. That is steady growth. I think Morris would have ended up at A&M had they missed on Jimbo Fisher. So I think he's Brett Venables with head coaching experience. So I think it's a solid hire, but it's not a Scott Frost.
All right, Chad Morris coming in at number 9 on our top coaching hires, guys. Let's move on. At number 8, we've got Mississippi State. They get Joe Moorhead, former Penn State offensive coordinator.
I think it's a fascinating hire because I am curious, A, how he fits at Mississippi State. He goes from the Northeast down to the South to coach Mississippi State. He was good at Fordham. I thought he was the best OC, best assistant coach in all of college football last year. I think he's going to be a good fit at Mississippi State. I'm excited to see what he does, James.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see what he does, Tom. I kind of, didn't think he was, I don't know why I thought this, but I didn't think he was going to get a head coaching job. It just seemed like he had found his role as an offensive coordinator. I thought if he was going to go anywhere, it could have been like, oh, Alabama's new offensive coordinator or something like that. So I was surprised he got a head coaching job, but
he was not on my list for Mississippi State because I'm like, oh, they won't look at Moorhead. He's a Northeastern guy, and they went and surprised us.
Yeah, and the whole intersectional thing where you're a Northeast guy, you go to Penn State, you have some head coaching experience in the Northeast, then you go down to the deep South. Mississippi is the deep South town. There's no major cities anywhere near Mississippi State's campus, so he has got to go in there and get relationships with the high school football coaches, get into Atlanta, get into the Alabama, Georgia, all the southern states, and get his name known, because it is not nearly as known as the other defensive coordinators at SEC schools who have been coming in and out of those, those high schools for the past, however many years. That's a great point.
All right, well, head coach of Mississippi State, Joe Moorhead, comes in at number 8 on our top coaching hires. Let's take it now, you guys, to number 7, Mario Cristobal for Oregon.
I think, the front runner in this on this show of liking Cristobal. I think this is a great hire. I think he got robbed at FIU, took, frankly, the worst program in all of college football, and got into a bowl game, and then he got fired because he had one down year, and the administration said, you know what, we want Ron Turner to be our head coach, and that was a failing pile of garbage. I like Cristobal a lot. He's going to recruit well. He kept a lot of their key recruits. I think he's a great fit for Oregon, and unless the Miami Hurricanes job comes open, he's not going to jump ship like Taggart did.
Tom played his pro ball in Amsterdam, surprisingly enough. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but I just found that out. Wikipedia.
we know how we spend his free time.
Well, I know. That's what I'm trying to say. Now he's in the Pacific Northwest. We know what happens there. People are talking. But, I like this one. I thought Oregon could shoot a little bit higher. Coming off, Chip Kelly. Then you kind of swung for a bigger name, in Willie Taggart, a hotter coach, I guess. I thought they settled a little bit. I'm not a big fan of just let's make our coaching decision in 2 or 3 days after the other guy leaves.
Fair.
I thought they should have cast a wire net. I thought Kevin Sumlin might have made a good potential guy you wanted to talk to. So I thought it was a little underwhelming, but I do think Cristobal has been around. He's got some great experience coaching in Miami, coaching in Alabama. Was the offensive coordinator for what started to be a good offense at Oregon before their quarterback Herbert got hurt.
And he can recruit.
Yeah, and he's definitely a recruiter. So we'll see what he does. I don't think they'll ever have the success they had under Chip Kelly again, but he can be a consistent contender in the Pac-12.
All right, well, Mario Cristobal gets that number 7 spot on our top coaching hires. Let's take it now, guys, to number 6, Arizona, getting Kevin Sumlin.
I mean, you compare what Arizona did with Kevin Sumlin, and then you go look at what Arizona State did with Herm Edwards. One of those teams clearly won the coaching battle, and I think Kevin Sumlin, it didn't end well at A&M, and A&M did get a better coach in the end, but it's not like he was terrible. Like if you're Arizona, shouldn't you always take 8, 9, or 10 win years, every year, and be like, cool, this is who we are. This is our ceiling.
Yeah, you definitely should. I mean, when they moved to the SEC and they got that instant success of beating Alabama, getting a Heisman Trophy winner, crushing Oklahoma in that bowl game in that 2012 season, I think people expected to have that every single year. When you didn't get that, when you couldn't kind of rekindle the Johnny Manziel magic, even that second year with him and going in the post Manziel years, I think their expectations were a little high and he didn't live up to them. But it's really interesting as we look forward from 6 down to 1, guys. We'll find funny 20, it's basically like these next schools 7 through 1, all just basically flip-flop coaches. It's actually exactly what it is. All these guys coach at one of the other schools at some point, kind of, I guess, Mississippi State all the way to 1. It's really interesting.
All right, you guys. Well, before we get into number 5, let's go ahead and recap 10 through 6. Number 10, we got Jeremy Pruitt to Tennessee, Chad Morris at number 9, Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State at number 8, Mari Cristobal at number 7 at Oregon, and at number 6, we've got Kevin Sumlin to Arizona. But let's take it now to number 5, former Oregon head coach Willie Taggart to FSU.
I know, Jordan, what'd you make of this one since you are the FSU
guy? I'm happy about it. Obviously, still a little sour about Jimbo just getting up and leaving, but you know, great. I'm excited to see what the season holds.
I think he's a good coach. I think he's a heck of a recruiter, and this is kind of his dream job. It's not a Jimbo Fisher, a Chip Kelly hire, but I think 5 is the right spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly is well known as a recruiter. He did some good things at South Florida. Didn't really get a chance to put his stamp in the Oregon program. Again, much like a couple of the other jobs, I do think Florida State made a decision much too hastily. I think they should have made an effort. I thought Scott Frost would have been a better hire, in my opinion, for them. I thought they could have kind of kicked Jimbo out of the side door and said, hey, Scott, how about, 6 years, $40 million, whatever it is, before his alma mater. Give him a chance to stay in the place he's built for 2 years. So I think, Florida State should have gone a little bit bigger. I hate to say it, but they're one of the 10 jobs that should be able to walk in and get a meeting with any coach. That includes Nick Saban. He's obviously not going to take it, but you'll get a conversation, I bet, right? And so I thought they swung a little bit low, but I think he'll do good there. I think Willie Taggart is an up-and-coming coach. He's a guy who could be there for 30 years, much like Bobby Bowden.
Agreed.
Taggart coming in at number 5 on our top coaching hires. Take it now to number 4. We've got Dan Mullen head to the Florida Gators.
James, when they first fired Jim McElwain, we had our show and we pegged Mullen as favorite, and it's what ended up happening. Now, they did miss out on Chip Kelly, which I think hurt, but I think Mullen is a great fit for Florida. He knows the AD, Scott Strickland. He's going back there after being the OC. I think he's going to do wonders for Florida. I think he is a so much better fit than Jim McElwain ever was.
Yeah, Tom, he's definitely a good coach. He's done some good things. He's put great guys in the pros, most notably Dak Prescott. And everyone forgets 3 years ago, for a while, Mississippi State was the #1 team in the country, I think actually just for 1 week. So he's had some success there. I did think this was kind of a reactionary hire. It was, if you think about Michigan hiring Brady Hoke, like who the hell is Brady Hoke, coach at San Diego State? It was like this whole experiment with this new guy coming in from another school, another style of offense. Let's go back to the guy who coached under that other guy we liked, and that's what Dan Mullen is at Florida. He's the guy who coached under the other guy, Urban Meyer, that we liked, and Brady Hoke, the guy Lloyd Carr that we liked. And so I think he's a good hire. I don't think he's going to win at the level that they expect at Florida, which is a 2 national titles per decade, basically, is what they've kind of come to expect over the last 30 years. And they're not going to get there, I don't believe, with Dan Mullen. I hope I'm proven wrong. I think Florida being good is good for college football, so we'll see what he does. But he has one of the more proven track records. All these coaches, I mean, he's been around for a long time as head coach at Mississippi State, and then studied under Urban Meyer, multiple stops, Utah, Florida, and Bowling Green.
Okay, Dan Mullen earns that number 4 spot on our top coaching hires. Let's take it now to this guy, Scott Frost, who his alma mater completely turned UCF's program around in national champions.
Talk to Scott Frost at the CFP championship. He seems to
humble brag.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Thank you. I think he's going to be a great fit for Nebraska. And you talk about a team maybe out kicking their coverage in terms of coaching hires. Scott Frost and Nebraska. Like Frost would have been a great hire for Florida. Nebraska goes in and gets him because he played there. Really, from 3-2-1, pick your order. Frost is well worthy of being the #1 overall hire this offseason.
I get the go back to where you grew up, go back to where you went. But I'll tell you what, if I was enjoying the Florida sun, if I was Jim Harbaugh enjoying the California sun, no way in hell I'm going back to Michigan. No way in hell I'm going back to Nebraska. I think it's way overrated. I've lived outside Ohio for like 11 years now. I'm not going back there for any job, almost.
Okay, guys, Scott Frost comes in at number 3 on our top coaching hires. Let's take it now to number 2. We got Jimbo Fisher to Texas A&M.
I'll be honest, I didn't really buy the Jimbo Fisher leaving stuff at first, and yet here he has ended up at Texas A&M. What a great job by the Aggies to get Jimbo when LSU couldn't do it last year.
I mean, can you remember a coach as established, as successful as Jimbo Fisher making the lateral move in college football? I don't know if I can remember one.
Honestly, is it even lateral?
Is
it a step down?
Is it a step down? I was mostly lateral, like Power 5 to Power 5, but it's definitely a step down as far as prestige is concerned. I mean, you get like Nick Saban, LSU to Alabama, had a 2-year stint with the Dolphins. Urban Meyer to Ohio State had a 1-year out of football stint, so those don't count. The only thing I can compare it to is Roy Williams, 15 years or so at Kansas, making that jump over to North Carolina, kind of the same thing. But you rarely see a guy, if he's at the pinnacle of college football, just saying, hey, I'm going to drop everything I've built here for the last 7, 8, 9 years and go do it at another school. So super surprising.
At least without like a year in between, like Urban Meyer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jimbo Fisher earns that number 2 spot on our top coaching hires. We'll take it now to number 1, UCLA. The Bruins getting Chip Kelly, guys.
Look, Chip Kelly has been the white whale for college football hires for what, the past 4 years, 5 years, something along those lines. So when the team gets him, yeah, they're going to be number 1. I think this is a fantastic hire by UCLA. To be at a school like Florida and pretty much every other job out there was a remarkable job by the Bruins.
I don't know how the heck they did it. UCLA does not deserve Chip Kelly as their head football coach, by the way. And Tom, what you brought up right is like LSU would have loved to have Chip Kelly. Texas probably would have loved to have Chip Kelly over the coach that they have now in Tom Herm, who himself is a phenomenal coach. I bet Florida State probably would have wanted Chip Kelly. Like, the fact that UCLA got him is amazing, Tom. I don't know what he's going to do this year because I just don't have a strong enough gauge of where UCLA is a program, because
I don't think
they've just basically been hot seat for 3 straight seasons, and Josh Rosen being injured and not injured. But if he can do anything near what he did at Oregon, it is just going to be fun. He is a star in a star-driven city, and UCLA with those powder blue uniforms in the Rose Bowl, that's about as good as it gets.
All right, guys, well, let's take it to a reaction poll here while we're talking about this. How many games will UCLA win next year? Go ahead and give us a heart for 10+, and give us a thumbs up for 9 or 8. 7 through 6, give us a wow face, or 5 or under, give us a ha-ha at home.
Well,
what are you guys throwing
let's take a look at their schedule. They play UC to start the year. They'll win that game. They're not going to go on the road and beat Oklahoma. They'll beat maybe Fresno State. Fresno State's a quietly good program. Colorado, I think that they'll win. Washington, I don't think that they're going to find a way to win that game. Cal, they'll beat. Arizona, I think they'll beat.
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's toss-up game. Utah, I think they'll beat. Oregon, I think is in the toss-up game. They'll beat Arizona State. But USC, Stanford, at the end of the year, I think they lose those games. So I think best case, looking at 9 or 8 wins, best case. And that even with the Chip Kelly bump, UCLA's team is not that good enough from what I saw on tape.
If you're not counting a bowl game, I'd say the record's 7-5 next year. I looked at their schedule a few days ago.
Okay, well, go ahead and throw those reactions up at home. How many games will UCLA win next year? As we take it to recap our top coaching hires, we've got Chad Lunsford going to Georgia Southern. We got Dana Dimel to University of Texas at El Paso. Sean Lewis to Kent State. Mac Luke to Ole Miss. We got Steve Campbell to South Alabama. Josh Heupel goes to UCF, and Bill Napier to Louisiana Lafayette. Jonathan Smith to Oregon State. Sonny Dykes to SMU. Rice Owls get Mike Bloomgren. Tennessee gets Jeremy Pruitt. Chad Morris to Arkansas. Joe Moorhead to Mississippi State. Mario Cristobal to Oregon. And Kevin Sumlin to Arizona. Into the top 5, we got Willie Taggart to FSU. Dan Mullen to Florida. Scott Frost back to his alma mater at Nebraska. Jimbo Fisher to Texas A&M. And Chip Kelly to UCLA.